So my name is Johnny, and as Rachel said, I teach at College Boreal, but I'm also the agriculture manager, so taking care of the projects, applied research projects at the greenhouse. So today I'll be talking about the importance of conserving traditional seed crops diversity. So as we know, so diversity is very important because uh, without diversity, so there is not any sustainable agriculture. So and then we're going, to talk about that. So we must recognize that we recognize that the remarkable intelligence and power of seeds. It perpetuates the species, preserve its diversity, ensure its resilience in the face of adversity. This is the basis of biological diversity. So biological resilience is in the diversity of the genes. So this is just to introduce the fact that it is really important to keep diversity in the seeds because this is what gives us the resilience and the diversity, of the genes. So we'll go over that, with some examples. So, thousands of plant species and varieties that fed our ancestors are already extinct, and we are losing more every day. So, that's why Mr. Louis Tatu from Food and Agriculture Organization think that diversity is our food's life insurance. Life food insurance because we will see it, in the slides ahead. It is very, very important because if you just focus on one variety which has one characteristic, and you see profit, then you're going to lose, the diversity. So, and that's why we are here. It is so good to see how we are, sharing, knowledge on seeds. So over the last 2 decades, so 75% of genetic diversity of agricultural crops has been lost. So 100 to 1,000-fold decrease over time. So this phenomenon results in the decrease of ecosystem abilities to provide food for people and decrease the function of other ecosystem, services. So in fact, so when you decrease, the diversity of crops, then you're going also to decrease the ability of the crops to withstand, adversities like climate change, drought, and other parameters that are, against, the cropping season. So 75% of the genetic diversity so have been lost. Why? Because we're focusing only on some type of crops and characteristics as well, because we just seeing the profit. So over human history, out of about 30,000 edible plant species, so 6,000, between 6,000 and 7,000 cultivated, for food. But on this number, we only have now 200 crops that we just using as food. 200 out of those 7,000. Okay, so 75% of global food biodiversity has become extinct in the past 100 years. 60% of the remaining gene pool of crop plant is inadequately conserved or studied, and 90% of the remaining gene pool of crop plant is not being used commercially. For instance, you have this crop, you have the corn, you have yellow corn, you have purple corn, you also have, some are even orange, some are yellow, but nowadays we are only, cropping only two. So the yellow one, the sweet one, and also the one which has a lot of starch. Why? Because we're seeing, we're going to process it and then, make alcohol out of it. Okay, and also use it in almost everything that we're using in food processing. So all of our cultivated plant depends on human care. So they don't grow in the wild, only in the gardens, and farms. So that means if nobody grows a particular variety and saves its seeds, that variety becomes extinct forever. But for instance, if you take, potato comes from the Andean, mountains in Peru. There you can still have these varieties of potato, which you find them in the wild. But nowadays, you can't find corn in the wild. You just, if you want to see corn in the wild, you have to go, in Mexico and maybe also in Belize, where the corn, originates. So meaning that, so all those crops that we find in the wild, they still have this resistance. And in fact, when you have some diseases that you have outbreaks of diseases like in potato field, people, what they do, they go back to Peru to find those varieties which are produced in the wild, and because they still have those traits, characteristics of resistance against different type of diseases, and also traits for yield. So that's why it is so important to keep the diversity. It means that we don't only focus on what we are planting in our gardens, but we also keep in mind that we still have the gene pools in those varieties which are growing in the wild. So humans rely on a shockingly low number of plants for the majority of our daily calories. In fact, of the thousands of fruit and vegetables species cultivated for food, fewer than 200 make up a substantial part of food that we produce globally. And this is not really acceptable. So thousands of plant species and varieties that fed our ancestors are already extinct, and we are losing more every day. So that's why we say diversity is our food's life insurance. It is crop biodiversity that keeps our food system strong and resilient against these real and menacing threats. So more than 40% of our daily calories, they come from three staple crops: rice, wheat, and maize. That's it. And when I say, maize or corn, so most of the time you would just see this yellow corn. And the other one type of corn, the white ones, it is used in almost they say almost around 80% of the food which is processed, because you find it in like starch that you use for the sauce and so on. So, and this is what I was telling Rachel. So you look at these corns, why we don't grow them? So, because they are purple, people are not using the purple, or because it is mixed with yellow and so on. No, this is how we keep diversity and we keep strong, the crop that we are growing. So I'm just giving you an example. So did you know that not all bananas are yellow or curved like a half moon? Some are straight, some are stumpy, some are even red. And there are actually 1,000 different varieties of bananas. But what we're seeing on the market is only the Cavendish, which is a yellow and then it is curved. Why is it like that? Just because they realize that it is the one among the others which can stand, long, travel, and also it doesn't bruise, easily. So, and that's why we're using it. And then we forget the other one, which are straight, stumpy, and even red, because they do not fit in the mind of the person who's selling them. In the mind of Dole, what they want, it is just that shape and that rate of sugar. And because it doesn't bruise, okay, so then we're going to use it. We're going to leave all other varieties, and then this is how we're losing diversity of bananas. So today, 3 corporations control 53% of the global commercial seed market. So you have Bayer, so who just they bought Monsanto. You have Corteva, formerly DuPont. This is a French one, and then you have Syngenta, so which is part of the ChemChina. And we're going to add Limagrain. This is a French company as well. So together they control 50% of the global seed market, with Bayer and Corteva alone claiming roughly 40% of the entire world seed sector. So seed consolidation in that way has led to market control, resulting in dramatic increases in the price of seeds. From 1995 to 2011, the average cost to plant an acre of soybean has risen by 325%. The cotton has risen up to 516%, and also the corn seed has risen, I think, to 255%. So this is not acceptable. Why? Because we only have those companies which are, controlling, the seed market. So reason why there is less seed diversity: relentless effort to industrialize agriculture, the introduction of high-yielding varieties and cash crops, commercialization of F1 hybrid seeds. So they are produced mostly in India, and then so the farmer has to buy them every year. For instance, if I take some varieties of tomatoes, so per kilogram, it is 15,000 euros, 15,000 just for 1 kilogram of those F1 seeds. So, and also the cropping system, as cropping system becomes more commercialized, there is a reduction in crop and varietal biodiversity. And why all this? Because they just want profit. So we kill biodiversity. We just want to make profit. We don't care. So look at when you go in the United States, look at these, so Monsanto or Corteva or all the other people, those are big companies. They are suing farmers only because we realize that in your line, we have our gene. So the gene that we developed now, it is in yours. Or now it is ours. And then you go to the court, and most of the time they always win those cases because they have money. They have those lawyers that they pay high amount of money to to defend them. So industrial places consistency and productivity over biodiversity. No, this is so the reason why there is relentless seed diversity, we just said that at the end it is profit. Industrial agriculture places consistency and productivity over biodiversity. But preserving the immense variety of life on Earth is vital to the health of our planet and help us safeguard our own food supply. So, but what if climate change, invasive species, pollution, seed sprawl, or overuse of land cause these species to weaken, lowering their ability to produce or survive into the future? So what is going to happen? So the consequence, remember the potato late blight, a fungus that has caused potatoes to turn black and rotten, destroyed most of the crop in 1846, 1848, and 1849. This example just clearly demonstrates the danger of relying only on monocultures to feed the world, especially in times of climate change, as the weather will become increasingly unpredictable. When you look at the predictions, nowadays they are saying that, oh, in coming years, we'll even have, we can grow banana, in the area of St. Catharines and Niagara Falls, because it is going to be so warm that we will have tropical climate in south of Canada. So I'm just giving this example. So you have the diversity within the crop, the importance of richness and evenness. So I have my plot. I have 3 plots. Plot 1 with one species. You have, and that species has a variety A, B, C, D, and E. And then on plot 2, you have a species 2, which has variety A, C, 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 and C. And on plot 3, you have species number 3, which has only variety A, A. So on the plot. So now, for instance, if you have a disease, and then you have this disease, you have variety C and A, which are the most vulnerable. So what is going to happen? So what is going to happen is that you will only have the left on plot A, variety B, D, and E. So meaning that if you have just cropped, on plot B, those varieties, it means that you won't sow anything. So that's why we are talking about the richness and the evenness. When we talk about richness, it means how. So you have, for instance, one variety or crop A, you have 1,000 on a plot. This is richness of that variety on the plot. So we're talking about evenness, and this means that on one plot, you have more than one variety, so more than a species. For instance, I have corn, but I will also have maybe beans. I also have something else. This is the evenness, which is going to protect you from suffering from hunger when it comes to this kind of situation where, two varieties that you were relying on have been wiped out by a disease. But if you had, a evenness which is high, then you will have B, D, and E remaining. So that's why we're talking about richness and evenness. So which is very important in the crop. And that's why in the philosophy of nowadays, you have this guy from Quebec, Rachel, what is his name again?
The guy from Tournesol?
No, the guy who's doing training here and there for cropping on one land, this guy in Quebec. Oh, okay. So anyway, so it just to show you that, and he was saying that on one plot, on 1 hectare, he could gain like 144,000, Canadian dollars per season, because he crops, cabbages, he crops, snow peas. So a lot of, varieties on one plot. So increasing the evenness, and then your return is also going to be high. If you rely on monoculture, if there's one disease which wipes out, the variety, then you won't have anything by the end of the season. So what is the benefit of seed and crop diversity? So we're increasing resilience. When we say resilience, it means that the plant has the capacity of resisting, against diseases, against drought, and against any other adversity. So ensuring, and this ensure food security, and because the plant is going to adapt to the climate change, and then you're going also to reduce the environmental degradation, because you have crops which are already used to a certain type of land, and then you have this interaction between the crop and the environment. So protecting also the nutrition security, but also reducing poverty and ensuring sustainable agriculture. But here we're talking more, for people who are in underdeveloped world. So wild and domesticated species to withstand diseases, climate changes, and pests, and other unpredictable conditions. So that's why diversity, is very important. So with enough variation in a group, there will always be, some individuals that are naturally suited, to survive and can thrive under any changing, condition. That's why we need our crops to be diversified. That's why we need also our seed to be diversified. So that diversity from all varieties and the wild species that are related to the crop. So a good example is if you are a breeder of corn in Southern Africa, for instance, where the crop is the main staple, then the diversity you will want will typically come from where the crop originated, which is in Mesoamerica, so in Mexico and in Belize. And for potato, as I said at the beginning, you will need to go to Peru, where the potato originated. I used to work myself with, CIP, is called Centro Internacional de la Papa, which is Centro International of Potato in Peru. So when we have these late blight susceptible, cultivars or crop of potato, what we will do, okay, so we will call Peru, and then they will send us some other tubers that we will plant, and then we're going to do the cross-pollination for imparting the resistance from that wild type to the new one that we are cultivating. So if you don't have those wild types, so we neglect them because maybe they don't have a good shape, they don't look good, then we are also losing the genes, the pull gene, where we're going to take our the genes that we want for our breedings. So what do we do to increase, genetic, to avoid genetic erosion? So germplasm conservation. So germplasm conservation is what we're doing right now with Rochelle and other people. We're swapping our seeds. So this is what we call ex situ conservation. So we have the in situ conservation and ex situ conservation. The in situ conservation is where you just leave the crop by itself. It is going to grow on the land. It just stays there. And then it's going to get, so the interaction between the environment, so the soil, all the abiotic, parameters is going to be okay. Then if you want next seed, you will just go in that land to, to pick up those seeds. You also have the ex situ conservation is what we're doing now. So I just, when the seed, reach maturity, I'm going to just harvest them, as Mr. Bobo was saying, and then we're going to keep them as everybody's doing. And then when we come to this kind of, meeting, and then we exchange the seeds. So, and also increasing the evenness and richness of what we plant, okay? So for those who don't know what germplasm is a broad way which can be defined as the hereditary material total content of genes, which is inherited by the offspring through germ cells. So germplasm serves as the raw material for the breeder to produce various crops. So, but for that, we need to have, the crops where we're going to take those genes. But if we neglect them, we don't even know where they are. And then we just start, not breeding, but just, cropping every time the same seeds. We don't go back to the, the wild type where we find those good genes. Then, we are weakening, we are increasing the erosion of the genes. So therefore, conservation of germplasm has importance in all breeding programs. So for the concluding remarks, so monoculture are antithesis of biodiversity, and the extensive cultivation represent a considerable threat to society and nature, as genetic uniformity is more vulnerable to disease and pests. As I said, the Irish potato famine, so that occurred in 1840s, perfectly illustrate, I'm sorry, I can't see the last word. They illustrate, this last point. So that's why I'm thanking very much Rochelle and everybody who's, working behind the scene for this kind of things, to happen. And I think that it shouldn't stay among us, because we know. Let us go now to all those others who don't know. And I think that we should go in schools. In schools, this is where we are training people who are thinking. So they should think right. But they can think right if they have material on which they are going to think about. So, for instance, I'm at College Boreal. So I teach there. I'm also the agriculture, manager. But we realized that in the agriculture department, we don't have, people from Canada. So we have out of 20, students, we only have 2 students. The remaining students are from Africa, from other parts of the world. So how Canada's people are going to be aware of what is going on the seeds and no, we should go also in schools so that we can also increase, the number of students from Canada who are also taking part of, our, getting into agricultural field. So I'm going to thank you very much for your attention. So just keep in mind, no seed, no life. Thank you.
That's awesome. I want to just bring this out because, yeah, it's been the way we're sharing my screen this time. We're not able to see the presentation. So I want to, so we can all see Johnny's face and we can see Brianne. And I don't know what I'm doing to get out of here. I have to get out of here. Hang on a second. Please bear with us. I don't want to leave. Let's hit this. Okay, let's do this. Let's come back up into here.
So if you just
yeah, please help me because I'm like lost.
Absolutely.
There we go. Stop
so
sharing
maybe
the
just
screen.
stop sharing your screen, and then
Okay.
your video should pop into view.
How do
Stop,
I
stop here, stop here,
Oh,
right there.
There's
oh,
a
there, stop
bar.
here. Okay, we found it.
There you
Oh,
go.
there we
you
go. There we
So
go.
now
Okay.
your video is highlighted, so you're on screen.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that, Johnny. And there are a couple comments and questions. So Joe mentioned, I feel we need to educate judges and juries about pollination. Perhaps we need to sue the seed companies if their pollen spreads to other fields and pollutes our gene stocks.
Is it a question?
I think it's just a comment. If you'd like to comment on it,
Comment on the comment, yeah.
if you feel like commenting on it, you may, but
Yeah, yes, normally they are right because it becomes their property. If they are the ones who they just develop that gene of resistance or whatever, then if a farmer has that gene in their crop, then it belongs to the one who just made that gene. Yeah, so that's why you need, for instance, for corn, they are asking for for isolation. For us, the rule of thumb is 300 meters, but sometimes it is difficult. But normally it is 300, meters between different corn plots.
right.
Mm.
Excellent. And then Jessica mentioned amazing presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeanette mentioned wonderful presentation, Johnny. You were right. We need to get into the schools and teach the next generations. I absolutely agree. Excellent. Are there any other questions? We've mentioned this. You can put it into the chat and we can go from there. A reminder that I did start the recording a little bit late there, but we should have a recording available for you afterwards. Any other questions? Maybe
I do have a question.
Rochelle? Yep.
I do. I'm gonna try to get into the screen here. I have the wrong height of chair. Okay, so one of the things you talked about in the presentation was around this question of how do we build our community? How do we, and this is the reason we met, because you have this greenhouse and you have this idea of we all need to eat local food. We have seeds from around the world. We need to meet some farmers. I just wanted you to talk a little bit about more. If you had a magic wand and could create the best program to build the strongest resiliency in Sudbury, what would you do? What do you think are some actionable steps that we could all do together here with this group of seed savers and gardeners, and with your expertise and equipment? Really, you have this amazing technology and equipment at the college.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you see us all working together in a?
Yeah, for me, I always think that we should go in schools, because I'm working on a project. So we're going to call it, Ontario, so Ontario Schools Network for Agriculture.
And you mean what age group when you say go into
So
school?
when, yeah,
If
the
you're in a
schools,
school,
yeah,
you're in a
yes,
college
you're
level,
right.
So
No,
what do
college
you
is
mean?
too late. When
Yeah.
at the college is already too late. So we should go, for instance, in grade 6, starting in grade 6 up to grade 12. Okay, to instill that love of seeds and agriculture. Because look, we used to, so in 1911, we had around 296,000 farms in Canada. Okay, so from that time to today, we only have 190,000 farms remaining in Canada, and the average age of farmers has raised up to 55 years. It used to be around 30 years old. So now it is, meaning that farmers are aging. So you don't have, yes, farmers are aging, and then you don't have kids which want to take to take over. So that's why we should start in grade 6, 7 up to 12 to just show them that it is important. As I have this video where they say the farmers feed them all. So you wearing your tie, you are teaching, but you ate in the morning. The farmers fed you. So it is important for the kids to know that farming is important, because when they look at the farmer, or they see someone who's dirty, it doesn't look really that good, but they feed us. So for me, this is the starting point. And in fact, we can still continue collaboration in those who have maybe their seeds. From time to time, you don't know how to start them, at College Boreal, we can start the seeds for you. Maybe you have 100 or maybe 200. Yeah, then we can start the seed for you this period of time. So in March we start, and then by the end you come and then pick up your seedlings. So this is how we can, deepen, the collaboration. But it is really important to have this network of seeds, as you started, and also this gardening, NGO. I think they have. So Colleen also told me that they have this garden group. The garden group, yes, yeah, community garden. We should go in schools. This is where you will influence people, because those people then they will have positions in the society. So at least they know that they're going to take good actions. For me, so it is collaborating with schools. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that you want to try to make farming glamorous to young people.
Yes, you're right. You're right. In fact, this is the word, glamorous.
Glamorous or
yes.
appealing, or
Yeah.
But I have another question. Chrysalin is here, Brianne. She's next, and so she's going to follow Johnny. So we'll need a few minutes to just load her pictures onto my computer.
Thank you.
You also raise another point. So, and when we talk about the corn and the pictures of the corn that you had, all the different colors.
Yes.
And so we're a few generations now into only eating sweet corn as a culture. Let's just talk about North American culture. So what strategies do you think we could put into place to help people understand that this blue corn, this red corn, this multicolored corn is edible? So how do we teach people to make the eating of that food also glamorous?
Yeah, it is also, yeah, thank you for the question. So conceiving, like, some people did the polenta here. The polenta, we know that the polenta just, they're using yellow corn. So yeah, we can use the polenta with purple, purple corn as well. And also, most of the time when it is purple, it means that it is full of antioxidants, most of the time. So to show people that when you eat, the corn, which is yellow, which is white, you're not profiting from what the corn offers holistically. You should also try, the purple one, because it has, antioxidant in it. And then we can conceive maybe some beverages from the yellow corn when it is still fresh. And we can do that here. We're going to try that here, and then to show people that, don't consider that corn just, you putting in your house for decoration. No, it wasn't meant for the decoration. No, it was meant to be eaten. So it's not for not only for decoration. So then we can try those beverages, purple beverages, or drink from this kind of corn. Maybe people can, see that it is important. It's not only for, for decoration.
What's interesting is you say corn drink, and I think of like fermenting corn and maybe some kind of bourbon or something.
You're right.
But that's not what you're talking
about.
No. So describe to me, because I've never drank a corn tea or a corn. What is it? A corn
My grandmother.
What is it?
It is called just corn milk. So yeah, when it is fresh, you just take it, you grind, you put water, and then you going to put on the water. So you're going to warm a little bit, and you're going to use the strainer, and then you drink it. So it is good. Yeah,
and
it is good.
Any colored corn or any corn. It doesn't have to be a sweet corn.
No, it doesn't have to be no. When it is still fresh, it is sweet.
Yes.
Yeah, because you have the glucose, which is going to get to transfer to starch. But at that time, when it is still young, it is sweeter. When it grows, going to maturity, then you have more starch. Then it's not sweet anymore. Yeah.
It's interesting.
So interesting. I think there's actually my husband's family is from Chile, and there's another corn drink.
Yes,
drink down there as well.
You're right. It is called chicha, but this is fermented. Right. Yeah, this is fermented.
Yeah, dangerous stuff.
Oh yeah, you know that is dangerous. How did you know that?
So Brianne, you'll have to come to the kitchen here and make that. We're gonna supply the corn, you supply the recipe, or bring the man with the recipe.
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you very much, guys.